What's up, guys? Facts First Podcast. We are introducing a new segment today. It is February the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Make sure you get your wife, girlfriend, significant other, husband, whatever. Make sure you tell them Happy Valentine's Day. Get them something special, flowers, whatever the hell they're into. So today is segment 1 of the 7th inning stretch. Guys, tell me what you think about the name. That is going to be the MLB podcast that I run on behalf of Facts First, our podcast company. The 7th inning stretch is going to be a weekly podcast, strictly MLB. Might involve just a little bit of college baseball from time to time, maybe some minor league stuff, getting into, potential guys getting pulled up from the farm leagues and minor league. Stuff like that, but mainly 99.99% of it involving all Major League Baseball. It is strictly a baseball podcast that I will run. It will be a weekly podcast from, throughout the MLB season and postseason. And then once we, fully get into the start of the season, this will be a, multi times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. We're going to do this podcast, discussing everything relevant to baseball, to betting on baseball, and going to get interactive with, the fans and the viewers of everything. So this is episode 1. Jimmy was going to join me on this, but I believe he's got the flu, guys. He is sick. He is feeling really under the weather, but he's grinding as always. So, but it wasn't the time for him to be on camera. So Jimbo, we love you, and sending well wishes your way, hoping you feel better soon. So anyway, let's start it. Facts First Podcast, the 7th inning stretch. Hope everyone likes the name. And let's get started. Headline sponsor of this podcast, as always, is Ghost Picks Against the Spread, the #1 trending sports handicapping site on the internet. I am a exclusive handicapper of Ghost Picks for anybody that's tuning in for the first time. If you are looking for a service to go out there, a service of sports consultants that will give you consistent winning picks. This is a long-term game, guys. Ghost Picks Against the Spread is a sports consulting service made up of 5 expert handicappers, myself, Derek Dimes, Benny, Jack, and Jimmy. And we are sports consultants. We give you sports betting advice. We tell you the games to bet. We do the research for you, but we also preach consistency and money management. You manage your money right, you manage your bankroll right, you get with the handicapper of your choice, and long term you will show a profit and you will make money, and that's just a fact. So make sure you go over to the headlining sponsors website, ghostpicksats.com. There's always stuff going on, deals, promos, anything from a day package all the way to a full year, a full season, and you will make some money. So anyway, let's get into it. We've got a lot of things going on. I asked everyone in my free pick video the other day to give some ideas for content that you wanted to see, questions you wanted answered, and that is printed off emails of what people wanted to talk about. So obviously we can't go over every single one. We're going to go over a handful of them. Give everyone a shout out that we did, and so let's get started. Now, being the MLB season has not started yet, and everyone knows that I am a sports handicapper of Major League Baseball, NBA, college basketball, the NHL, the NFL, and college football. I guess I can go on a rant about another sport. Everyone loves my James Harden rants, so let's do a James Harden rant. Today was actually on the road a little bit, doing some traveling, got home kind of late this evening, and, I told my wife, I said, let's eat some late dinner. Let's just get some takeout. Let's get some late dinner, chill out before I have to go on the air and do some podcasting. So I went out, got some dinner, and got home. We were sitting there eating, and, my wife knows that sports are my life, and so usually she's very, she rolls with it. She's on board. She's very supportive. But when we sit down to eat dinner or do anything like that, I usually try to leave sports out of it. We watch something different on TV. But she was like, you know what, just I know you want to cut on, a game, see what's going on. And she was tired, getting ready to go to bed anyway. So I flipped on the Texas Tech game, which was getting ready to go into halftime, which is a game that I had to play in tonight. It was getting ready to go into halftime. So I flipped down a couple of channels, and we got the Houston Rockets game. So it's time for a James Harden rant. James Harden, you are the biggest pussy to ever have played the game of basketball. Yeah, I'm sitting there watching it, and they're playing the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota. And I'm sitting there watching him go up and down the court, and I watch it and I time it. I look at it, and for exactly 5 minutes and 20 seconds, James Harden has the ball in his hands over 3 minutes of this time. Think about that for a second. There's 10 men on the court, and for over 3 minutes, this one individual has the ball in his hands. Well, Minnesota's playing some defense. They're not playing tough defense. They're not doing a full court pressure. They're not getting in his face. But just because they get in front of him, the man refuses to take a shot. But they get out of his way. He's going to go take a shot. And he's missing them. And then he knocks knees with somebody and almost falls to the floor. And anybody who has been an athlete in their life knows that when you really knock knees with somebody, and you knock knees with them hard enough to almost put you to the ground, 30 seconds later, you're not going to be at full strength again. This is going to take a couple of minutes. You knock knees with them hard enough, you're going to have a bruised knee, and who knows, you might not be back to full strength for a day or so. 30 seconds later, he's okay again. But somebody gets close enough to him to where they barely graze what is the pussy of James Harden. He almost hits the floor. The fact that anyone can consider this man a dominant force in the NBA, and don't get me wrong, the dude is probably one of the best shooters we'll ever see. He is not a basketball player. He's not. He is a pussy who can shoot the ball from half fucking court, but cannot have anyone goddamn guard him and play the game of basketball. The NBA is a joke. As a league, every franchise is a joke. They are completely against the people that make them money, which are the fans and the spectators. And the fact that James Harden gets glorified for what he does makes the sport even more of a joke. So James Harden, everybody loves it when I do this. Fuck you. You are a piece of shit. You are a pussy. And you, sir, if you get inducted into the Hall of Fame, that just shows what is wrong with the sports world. Now, let's get into some real shit. Let's get into Major League Baseball. Everybody still wants to talk about the Bryce Harper situation. Guys, I have been saying this, I've got two screens going at once, got both my laptops out, got the iPad out, going over everything. I've been saying for the past 2.5 months, the best spot for Bryce Harper is the Philadelphia Phillies. I've been saying it. I've been preaching it. I've had countless emails saying, Bryce Harper is not a fit for the Phillies. Bryce Harper would never do it. Bryce Harper's going to go out there and, go for short term, like with the Yankees or the Dodgers or something like that. I even said Bryce Harper could fit with the Dodgers. But his two best shots, as far as success and where he fits in, Phillies #1, Giants #2. I've been saying it. Last the MLB podcast I did with Jimmy. Last one I did with Jack, I even said the Phillies are the best fit for Bryce Harper and his style of play. Second to that being the San Francisco Giants. Read an article here just a few minutes ago, and actually a couple today, talking about the two finalists potentially being the Phillies and the Giants. Guys, Bryce Harper is not stupid. As much as I don't care for him, and I do think that he's an overrated player, I don't think that any player in baseball, I don't honestly think there's ever been a player in baseball that is worth $300 million plus. If you're going to talk about $300 million plus, we've really got to get into the Derek Jeters of the world. And let me tell you something. We'll get into who I think, because one of the questions was, who do I think the best player is? But he's not worth $300 million. To be honest with you, I don't think he's worth $250 million. But he is a long-term player. Bryce Harper hasn't done enough within his career to show that he is a short-term guy. Short-term guys in the MLB are not like short-term guys in other sports. Like Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, even James Harden. Those are short-term guys that could come into a rotation and make just enough of an impact to potentially take that team to the level they want to be in the short term for a ring right then. But in baseball, because you're an 11-man team with so many different, puzzle pieces to the big picture, Bryce Harper hasn't done anything within his career for any team to say, hey, let me pay you an astronomical amount of money, come in this year, win us a championship, and then go do whatever you want to do. We're just looking for the micro situation, which is right now versus the long term. I actually talked to someone today that said that I was right about that, but no one in baseball is short-term valuable. Well, I don't agree with that. I think one of the smartest short-term acquisitions ever made was Aroldis Chapman to the Chicago Cubs. Now, again, biased because I'm a Cubs fan, but Aroldis Chapman is a Yankee. He was a Yankee at heart, and when his contract ended and acquisitions went on between Theo Epstein and Jeb Hoyer with the New York Yankees about acquiring him for the 2016 season as a closer, because that's something that the Cubs really lacked. Yes, they had closers, but they didn't have that one dominant closer that was like, hey, we're up, we're winning, we put this closer in, and you might as well count it as a W. They needed that. The Yankees were not in a position that year to win a World Series or to even be a major playoff threat. So they were able to pick up a nice paycheck for the Cubs going, let us get Aroldis Chapman for this year. We'll pay you the asking price. He's going to go out there and have the ability to get a ring and be a part of history. History that has never been made, history that will never be made again. And in a 108-year championship drought. And then after this year, whether it works or doesn't work, we will divvy him back up to the Yankees where we know he wants to be. He is a Yankee through and through. The Yankees want him, but that was one of the smartest acquisitions in baseball between two teams, by the Yankees understanding what he's worth, what they could get for him, knowing they're going to get him back, knowing that they do not have a fighting chance to win the World Series, to really be competitive within long-term playoffs. They were able to go out there and say, why not take the money? Why not let him be a part of history? We're going to get him back. We're going to get a paycheck. And everything's going to come full circle. One of the most brilliant things that I've ever seen, because most teams wouldn't go out there and try to do that. They would say, we want him. We want to bring him on for this reason. But obviously, Aroldis would, Chapman would have been valuable beyond 2016. I would love to still have him as a Cub. To be honest with you, there's over half the team, as a fan looking in, there's over half the team that I would be willing to give up for that closer right there. But we knew it wasn't going to happen. We knew the second he threw that last pitch, he's going back to the Yankees. There was talks after the World Series of him going out there and making those relationships with those guys of, hey, has he found a new family? Would he be willing to humor the idea of staying in a different pinstripe? Staying, in the Windy City versus going back to the Bronx. And the thing is, that's a pipe dream. We knew it wasn't going to happen. But let me tell you something. It doesn't mean that Jeb and Theo didn't think about it. Well, what could we offer to keep him? But you know what? They knew where his heart lied. They knew where his loyalty was. They knew where he wanted to be. And that is the beautiful thing about this game, going, hey, we need a piece. Help us get it. His contract's over. You don't have a chance. But as you build over this year and you start gaining that momentum back, You're going to get your key closing piece back. Beautiful acquisition. So for that person right there to tell me that there is no short-term value in single-year deals is a buffoon. It's just not a fact. But someone like a Bryce Harper or someone like a Manny Machado or a Mike Trout or even a Justin Verlander, you know, a pitching status like that. Yeah, short-term deals are not it. The only way that you're going to get short-term value within pitching as a starting pitcher is someone that you're talking about a dominant pitching force that's all but there, and it's like they have that one bad apple who's still pitching, you know, below a 2.3 ERA, but he's the bad apple in the group. And so it's like, all right, you get the one guy that's getting ready to retire, get him on a year or two deal to see what he can do. But long-term is where Bryce Harper needs to be. Bryce Harper's young. He's a stud. He is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. It's just a fact. So he's got to be looking at long-term. And I've heard so many times people emailing me going, Bryce Harper is just egotistical enough to go for the short-term deal, to get the ring, and then to hope that now he's looking at $350 million. It's not going to happen. I said it wasn't going to happen, and I just read an article, and this is actually from Bryce Harper's agent, that says in no way is he thinking, entertaining, or willing to accept something on the short term. He is looking for long term. He is looking for, you know, big market. That big market talk has somewhat come down just a little bit because he's having to realize he can only go where he's offered. Any team in the major leagues would be willing to take Bryce Harper. The Cubs would take him, but the Cubs flat out said $300 million, 10 years. You're not going to give us anything right now. And we don't think within the next 3 years you're going to benefit us enough for us to go out there and literally spend what could be 4 to 5 player acquisitions based on your salary cap alone. So, you know, yeah, I thought the Yankees might make a stretch at him. The Red Sox, they're sitting there just where they need to be. The Astros are sitting exactly where they need to be. The Dodgers are sitting where they need to be, except for the fact that the Dodgers are just not going to win a World Series. Go ahead and write that down and check that off for anybody that thinks that the Dodgers are going to win it. I do think the Dodgers, as I've already made a prediction, will be back in the postseason this year, probably deep in the postseason. Depending on what the NL Central does this year, I think the Dodgers could be back, you know, and representing the National League in a World Series again this year. The Dodgers, I don't think, are very well coached. I really don't. I don't think that they have the coaching or the management style to go out there and make changes on the fly. Because, again, we've talked many times about the management position just being a body now. It's not like it was back in the 70s and 80s and even 90s before computers got so heavily involved where, I'm going to use this as an example. So this magazine right here, this is your manager's handbook. And what this would be stats. This is a computer looking at stats for who you're facing and what your own players are doing. And so your pitcher is going out there and it's saying that your pitcher, we'll just say Justin Verlander for a second, can go out there and throw 90 pitches. We're just going to say that, for instance. And so he goes out there, he hits 90 pitches in 6 1/3 inning. Well, there at 6 1/3 inning, he could be pitching a shutout game, but yet he's given up 4 hits. He's walked 3 people, and he's hit a batter. He's still pitching a shutout game, and he's riding into the 6th inning with a quick out and still looking pretty good. They're looking at it as, all right, he's hit 90 pitches, and now we're looking at pulling him. So at 90 pitches, what do? They walk to the mound. They're going to go talk to him. They're going to make some small talk, do whatever, and then they're going to come back off the mound, and they are probably going to let him go one more out. And then they're going to pull the bullpen. They're going to extend that 6th inning for whatever reason, and they're going to pull him out. Number one, true managers would be able to assess him by eyeballs and go, he's still got something left. And that's what I wish most managers would do. Everybody's in talks of this could be Joe Maddon's last year. Joe Maddon's not doing anything. Let me tell you something. Joe Maddon's one of the few last true managers that we have. Because somebody could be standing on the mound, whether they're having a really good game, a really bad game, or somewhere in between. He can go out there and look at a pitcher and say, okay, they're on the mound. This is what we've got. Does he have it left or not? Do we have to go talk to him? But if he believes by his own knowledge of that player and the other team and the game itself, going, well, he can finish this inning. And if he finishes it strong, why not let him start again? We're up. Can we sacrifice a run? Can we sacrifice a hit? If we cannot, yes, it may be time to put a fresh arm in there. But if you're up 3-1 going into the 7th and he's pitched the 5th and 6th inning, fantastic. He knows when to leave him. And if he ends up pitching a full game, great. You're not sacrificing bullpen, because guess what? That pitcher who starts that game, he's not pitching tomorrow. It's not like you're going to save his arm and use him for a couple innings the next day. He starts, he goes out there and does his thing for a couple of innings. He's done for his duration of time. He's not pitching again until next week, till his 3 to 4 day rotation, whatever it is, plus your days off. So he's going to pitch again next week. So you get everything you can get out of him for that point in time, because every team, at least once a week, has to solely rely on their bullpen for 85% of that game. And I just think that that's where a lot of teams have really struggled over the past 5 to 6 years to realize that once a week, your bullpen is all you have. And if you can't rely on a bullpen, then you're basically just forfeiting one game a week. Baseball's a long season. That's one game a week that you're essentially giving away. You're doing that, not to mention the games that you're just going to lose because it's baseball. That takes you out of contention. That's what puts you 4 to 5 games back in the lead and does allow you to hit wild card. So again, there's the rant there. Bryce Harper is going long term. It's a fact. I think he will end up in Philadelphia, just like I've said. If not there, San Francisco. I think Bryce Harper's mentality and ego might push him to San Francisco, just because of the bigger market, just because of, I don't know, maybe the money, because I know that San Francisco can afford him as far, financially spend a little bit more on him. But Philly is where he needs to end up. This is me taking my personal thoughts about Bryce Harper as a fan out of it. Bryce Harper needs to end up in Philadelphia. It's just a fact. And I know that my fellow boys at Ghost Picks, mainly being Derek, Benny, and Jimmy, being all Philadelphia boys, they would love it, bringing, a stud like that to Philadelphia. But as long, like I said before, as long as he doesn't end up on the north side of Chicago, I don't give a shit where he goes. All right, now let's get into my boy Jerry Valdez with some questions. So let's pull up what Jerry said. So Jerry was asking about one of the questions being the 20-second pitch clock. This is in talks of potential rules or rule changes or new things being brought into the league. Basically like a shot clock, pitchers having 20 seconds from the time that the catcher throws them back and they get their feet ready. They've got 20 seconds to throw the ball. Do I agree with it? Do I not agree with it? I do not. Do I understand where they're coming from? The problem that I see with it is multiple reasons. A pitcher ultimately has the hardest job on the field. I'm not saying that the position itself as a pitcher is the hardest thing on the field, but looking at it from a former player's perspective, to get out there and just be on the field, it can be nerve-wracking enough. But to literally get up there and have the ball in your hand and the world essentially stops until it comes out of your hand, and whether you throw a good ball, you don't, you give up a hit, you give up a home run, you strike someone out, you hit a batter, it all relies on you until the next play happens. Until the attention is taken off of you, you have the world's attention. So I don't agree with it for two reasons. I don't think you could rush something like that, because everybody has their ways of getting ready, loosening up, putting their focus in, and releasing that ball to do it to their best of their ability, whether it takes 5 seconds or 50 seconds. And number two, one of the main reasons that I don't agree with it, even more so than what I just said, was that the media, and this is 100% the media, they are trying to shorten the length of the game. When I was growing up, a Major League Baseball game was a 3-hour game minimum. Some games going up into 4 hours for a normal 9-inning game. You go into extra innings, you could be there all night. Most games that you watch now are 3 hours tops. You know, you get an extra innings, you might score past that. But we're seeing games now start at 1 o'clock and be over by 3:15. And that's just something that I never thought I would see. They're rushing the game. And the reason they're doing it is from what they've said, they don't think that as far as viewers go, especially TV viewers, are going to be intrigued enough to watch. That they think that basically baseball is boring. The media thinks that baseball is boring. Nobody's going to watch it for 3 hours. So if we can keep dumbing it down and getting it lower and lower and lower, till we can make this a 2-hour game, can we get viewers? Can we gain viewers? Can we have people more locked in, zoned in, and intrigued by a 2-hour game versus a potential 4-hour game? Sure you can, because people have the intention, you know, today's society is stupid and they have the attention span of a squirrel. Here's the thing. If you don't, and my thing is, if you don't want to watch a 2-hour baseball or a 4-hour baseball game, you don't want to watch a 2-hour baseball game, because you don't want to watch a baseball game, period. And what pisses me off more than anything is going to a game. And this is where that I think that it's almost contradictory for them to say this, going, nobody wants to see a 4-hour game. Baseball games are not cheap. Let's take Wrigley Field, for instance. If you're not from Chicago and you go to Wrigley Field right now, let's just say you get on a plane, you go to Chicago, you show up, you don't have tickets, you go to game day, you find them. You are spending a paycheck going to Wrigley Field. You're going to spend $100 minimum a ticket. If you're lucky, you might get a $60, $75 ticket on a shit weekday game to sit in the bleachers at 1 o'clock. But you're going to spend a couple of $100. You're going to go out there and pay $8, $9 for a hot dog. You're going to pay $12 for a beer. You're going to do all this. You're going to spend a paycheck going to enjoy it. Would you rather, do you want to do that for 2 hours? Do you want to get a half day out of it? For a live spectator, you would think you would want it to last all day. That's why tailgating exists in so many things. You go to college football in the Southeast, the kids are out there tailgating from 9 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock when the game starts that night. It's contradictory. But you think, okay, baseball's boring. Well, again, you don't want to watch a 4-hour game. You don't want to watch a 2-hour game. For the people that love the sport, for the people that love it live, for the people that love to play it, for the people that love to view it, for the people that love to be fans, they just love the game, whether it lasts 2 hours or 4 hours. But I don't agree with that. You can't rush perfection. You can't rush somebody's art form in their job. Nobody's going to come to your job and say, it takes you an hour to do this, but we think you need to be able to do it in 30 minutes. Knowing that if they cut your time down, it's only going to cut down on your ability to do it better. So, Jerry, no, I do not agree with that. I think that it's a joke. Everything they're doing to try to cut down on the length of the game is just, again, cutting down on the purity of the game. I said to someone a while back, if we brought back people like Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, we brought all these guys back, Jackie Robinson, and we had them standing right in front of us, almost like a Field of Dreams moment. And they had to step out on the field and play a modern era 2018 baseball game. They wouldn't even recognize the sport the way that it is. The way they do things with instant replays. Now, I do, honestly, the instant replay has been great in certain situations as a handicapper and investor, and it's been great as a fan in some situations. But the thing is, it's taking away from the integrity of the game by being able to put someone out there that is not someone that can be trusted no matter what decision they make. Sure, if you call somebody out at Wrigley Field and it's a Cubs player, you're going to get boos if it was close. It's the way of the world. So be it. But if you are the guy that's been doing this and you have the honor and integrity and you've got the, what would you call it? You've got the resume to prove that you are, you know how to do this and you do it the right way and you do it the fair way and the honest way. That's what we need. So we've got the instant replay now, which that's extending the game. So again, contradictory of what everybody else wants. The purity of the game is getting lost more and more as each year passes. And I hate it as a fan. Like, I hate it as a fan. I just want it to go back to the old ways, manual scoreboards, 100-year-old stadiums, the smell of beer and hot dogs and peanuts and fresh cut grass. That's what baseball is. Not instant replays and people taking selfies. You go to a ball game now, and I think it was so funny in 2017. I don't think that I've seen so many tourists at Wrigley Field. Going there, being from wherever in the world, and literally sitting there just to take selfies and be like, oh, Wrigley Field. Somebody that's never watched a Cubs game in their life. But hey, they won the World Series, so why not do it for social media? My home away from home, it seems like, is Atlanta, Georgia. I've been going to games in Atlanta since I was a little kid. Grandfather, a huge Atlanta Braves fan. My grandfather's from South Carolina. Braves country, huge Braves fan, season tickets for decades. So in the 90s, I actually grew up, when I was down there for the summers, we were going to Cobb County Stadium and Turner Field. And I grew up in that area. Watched Chipper Jones live play his first minor league game in Greenville, South Carolina. And going down there, and remember back in the 90s, before these shits were so popular, everybody was there to watch a ball game. And the people that weren't necessarily there to watch a ball game were there to drink beer and be a part of the ball game and hang out. Now, it's almost like it's the thing to do on the weekend, so you and your girlfriend can take a selfie, or somebody can sit there and take a picture and tweet about it. It irritates me. And my wife will attest to this. I pay for good seats. I go to more baseball games in 1 year than most people see in their lifetime live. I talk to people that, might go to 10 major league games their entire life. I go to 40 a year, minimum. And if I'm sitting there and the whole time the people in front of me are sitting there doing selfies and doing all this, I will say something, because it's ridiculous. We're here for a game. We're here to enjoy it. I don't need to be the background of your picture each time. So the integrity of the game as a fan is ruined. The integrity is now being ruined to the game itself. So, Jerry, let's get into the last topic, what you talk about, the universal DH. I'm going to read this article that I read just a few minutes ago. Major League Baseball announced Wednesday that there could be many potential rule changes applied to both American and National Leagues. One of these potential rule changes is adding the universal DH. This would take pitchers out of National League lineups, just like the American League, and replace them with a hitter of the manager's choice. I've already spoken about what I thought about DHs in many other podcasts and in free videos. I think 1973, 1975, I want to say 73. It was either 73 or 75, but I think it's 73 is when the American League implemented the designated hitter, and it was approved by the Major League Association. I don't agree with having that and not having an American League team have to put their pitcher up there, because I think it takes away from the strategy and the fundamentals of the game. Nobody thinks that it's fun to go watch Justin Verlander or John Lester or even John Smoltz when he was playing go up there and hit, because they know that it's a crapshoot most of the time. The only person that you go up there right now and think that it's fun would be Ohtani, because he's just as good of a hitter as he is pitcher, and he's fantastic at both. But it's not fun to see it. But it's also strategy. What about when John Lester gets that home run? What about when Justin Verlander gets on base? It's the strategy of throwing to that pitcher. It's the strategy of, will he take a walk? Will he bunt? Will he try to swing? That's just, what's going to go on here. It's the strategy of the game versus saying that person never has to swing a bat and that you're going to go up there and put someone in place that might get paid millions of dollars to just swing a bat. Someone like a David Ortiz or a Giancarlo Stanton. Great respect for both of them, especially Big Papi. Great, one of the most iconic players, and somebody that baseball wouldn't be the same without someone like Big Papi. I just don't agree with it. The one thing that the National League had over the American League is we didn't play that shit. And I 100% disagree with it. I hope that it doesn't happen. But the way that Major League Baseball is going, it's going to happen. It'll happen. There's been arguments back and forth for the past decade of, oh, the American League gets DHs. Why can't the National League? The National League Association has been, kind of pitching, the idea for years that they want it. When will it happen? That was the biggest distinction between AL and NL. It'll happen. Mark my words, this year there will be DHs in the National League, and it will just be one more nail in the coffin to Major League Baseball as the pure last honest game there ever was. So let's get into a couple of more things. Predictions that I made last time. I'm still going to stand by my early season prediction of the Houston Astros to win the World Series. And somebody asked me, one of them, let's see who this was, that asked this question. Chad Manning of Indianapolis. He asked why my early season prediction was the Houston Astros. And I even told him, we get past spring training, I always make a prediction the end of the second week to the beginning of the third week of the regular season, just like I did last year, making my prediction for the Boston Red Sox to win it all, making my prediction for the Braves to win the NL East, all the division champion predictions that I made. I'll do that again this year, and things could change from my early season predictions. But what he wanted to know was why I thought that the Houston Astros had the advantage over everyone else. And the thing is, I still think the American League is superior to the National League right now. I think that as far as the most well-rounded teams, I still think that Boston has the most well-rounded team. The one thing that I think is, I don't think that there's any holes in the Houston Astros batting lineup. I think that the Red Sox are right there with them. But I think that with Houston, if you just look at batting averages, not power hitting, not strikeouts, well, obviously strikeouts, but not power hitting. So it's not like you're getting somebody up there with a 1.30 batting average and then someone out there that hits a home run every game and is batting a 330. They out there, they don't have the most power hitting, but they do have it. But if you look at overall, on-base percentage and just batting averages, especially second half season, so post-All-Star break, there's no holes in their lineup. Every single member of that lineup gets on base, and they get on there at a consistent rate throughout the season. And because of that, mixed in with the power hitting they have, mixed in with the sharpshooters they have on the mound, I think, obviously we know Houston's going back to the postseason. That's a given. But I think that, as I said, post-All-Star break is the most important. Once they get to that postseason position and they end up getting to play someone like a Cleveland or a New York, that's where it all comes in. They play Cleveland. Cleveland plays in the shittiest division in all of baseball, so they can go out there and be the best. It's like being the smartest kid in a room full of fucking stupid people. The AL Central is a fucking dumpster fire. But mark my words, by 2022, that will be a division that is competing for a World Series. You heard it here first, and I don't think it'll be with the Cleveland Indians. I actually think it'll be, as bad as I hate to say it, with the Chicago White Sox. But they will go out there. They would dominate Cleveland. You look at New York Yankees, great lineup, great team, but there's holes. They've got their power hitters. They've got their, their on-base percentage guys, but they have a few holes within that lineup that are the ones that go out there and, leave it wide open. Home run, first base, strikeout, 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 strikeout. Houston doesn't have that. And it's like with Houston, beginning of the season, New York's going to rise above that. Post All-Star break, Houston finds that rhythm, and it's just consistently building and building and building and building as most teams get worn down and they get shown the worst of themselves because of fatigue and finding every flaw that can be found after 150 games. That's when Houston looks the most dominant. Just the way they did in 2017 is the way that I think they do it in 2019. And as of right now, guys, I study the sport 365 days a year. Every time I'm in a new city and I walk through an airport, I'll pick up every magazine I can find on it. I read everything about every player that I can find, every team. I know this sport so fucking well. I know these teams well. That's why you will never have another handicapper that provides the most winners, the best information, and knows it because he knows the fucking sport so well. It's not just because I can read numbers and predict something. I love this sport more than life itself, and I know everything about it, and I can show you the promised land with picking winners on it. Just like the other day in Atlanta. As you can see, this is an airport. This is $40 worth of magazines. That's reading material, baby. That right there, this is what I've been reading for the last week. It's nothing but baseball. And even while right now I'm immersed in college basketball, NBA, and the NHL, there's not a day goes by that I don't study the MLB and get ready for what's going to be an even better year than last year. 71.77%. Doesn't get better than that. It will this year. We're going to hit 73% or better, and that's a guarantee. So anyway, been talking now for about 45 minutes, so let's wrap it up here. We've talked about the integrity of the game. We've talked about Bryce Harper, Manny Machado. I'm going to say Yankees. I don't know. I tell you what, that was actually an article I'm going to pull up real quick on Manny Machado that I read earlier. I think Manny is just a little bit overrated, and I think that most people are realizing it. But what I think that the Yankees did was actually just kind of wait it out to see if maybe most teams thought he was overrated and kind of a liability. I still think the White Sox are the best fit for him, just like I said in the last two podcasts that I've done. The White Sox are still waiting on him. I think that the Yankees kind of swooped in with a little bit lower of a ball offer than what he was wanting, but that's more of his forte, big-headedness, staying within the American League on the East Coast. But again, these guys are smart. If he's smart, his best fit's going to be with the White Sox. The White Sox have opened up spring training. The offer's still out there. From what I have heard, actually with someone that I know that's closely affiliated with the Chicago White Sox, that the White Sox have been in touch with Machado's management team every single day for the past 17 days straight. And, you know, with the acquisition of John Jay from the Cubs, picking up a big outfielder there, they're making changes. If there's ever a team that was in full rebuild mode that's truly on the up and up, especially within the American League, it's the White Sox. So if he ever wanted to be a part of a team going from zero to hero, this will be it. At the Yankees, he's just going to be another body that I don't see lasting for the long term. So I would see the Yankees pulling him up, hoping to get a ring, and within a few years, eating money to get him out of there. So that's my Manny Machado spiel. So we talked about the integrity of the game, guys. We've talked about a little bit of prediction stuff. We've talked about some potential rule changes. And, you know, this was just a preliminary podcast getting the start of the 7th inning stretch, something that you will see every single week. And, guys, I'm going to be running a contest. This is going to be on my Twitter page, @PicksChase. So this is going to be on behalf of Ghost Picks Against the Spread, but it's going to be the 7th inning stretch contest. What it's going to be is someone to win a package for opening day through the first week of MLB. You will get my first 7 days of MLB absolutely free with this contest. What you have to do is you have from now until Sunday at midnight, you have to do two things. Go follow me on Twitter, @PicksChase, and you have to either comment or tag me in something MLB related to, whether it be my Chicago Cubs, your team, something that you see relevant, something funny baseball related, something that you just want to share, something Major League Baseball related. Tag me in it and follow me on Twitter. And on Monday morning, because I'm going to be in Atlanta this weekend. We're going to be doing some baseball stuff down at SunTrust Park. I'm going to be doing some busy stuff, possible Red Alert play. Don't miss out on that. We're going to be doing some stuff. And then on Sunday night when I get home at midnight, I'm going to go through all this stuff. And on Monday, on Twitter and on YouTube, I'm going to announce the winner. I'm going to randomly select one of the people that follows me and does exactly what I say as far as tagging me. Just tag me in an MLB post that you like, something you see. It doesn't have to be anything specific. You follow me, you do that. I'm picking one, and come MLB season, you will get my first week of MLB absolutely free. I'll show you the proof in the pudding, and I can promise you, you get that week for free, you make that money, you'll be signed up for the season right after that. So being this is on behalf of Ghost Picks Against the Spread, go to YouTube, follow the rest of the Ghost Picks guys, at Derek, so Derek Dimes, at Derek Ghost Picks, Jack Ghost Picks, Benny Ghost Picks, Jimmy Ghost Picks, myself, Chase Ghost Picks. So it all does this: Ghost Picks Chase, Ghost Picks Jack, Ghost Picks Derek, Ghost Picks Benny. All that on YouTube. Go follow us on Twitter at Ghost Picks ATS, at Ghost Picks Jack, at Ghost Picks Derek. Mine is Picks Chase, at Benny Bistro. Go follow all the guys. Get linked up with the daily content, the daily free pays, and get linked up with a very affordable package with the #1 handicapping service in the nation. You're interested in some cool merchandise like this, go to ghostpicksats.com. Go to the merchandise section, shirts, hats, koozies, whatever you want. It's there. And that's our first 7th inning stretch, guys. Let me know what you think about the name. Get interactive. Anything that you want to see, we will have one up next Tuesday. So what I want, put in the comment section what you want to see for next week, because every week we're going to have about 5 topics that we go over, and then we're going to have a few more topics that we choose from the viewers, just like I did tonight, and we're going to shout you out, and eventually we're going to start doing some merchandise stuff with there, some t-shirts that we're going to have for the 7th inning stretch, where the people that we choose stuff from, we choose your comment and your suggestion of a topic. Not only will you get a big shout out, we'll, plug your Twitter or something like that, but we will also toss you a free t-shirt. So make sure you tell your friends about us. Go follow me on Twitter. And make sure you drop in the comments, because I'm going to be watching it all week, what you want to see Major League Baseball or baseball related in general. It doesn't have to just be MLB. It can just be talking about baseball, because that's what we love. Make sure you put in the comments. I'm going to choose 5 for next week. I'll give you a shout out. You'll get some merch, everything. And make sure you go over to ghostpicksats.com and start winning some fucking money. So on behalf of the headline sponsor, Ghost Picks Against the Spread, the company that I'm affiliated with, good luck, God bless, grind on. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the 7th inning stretch. And guys, like I said, stay informed, stay affiliated, stay connected, and let's all do everything together. Let's all feed off of each other. Any comments, questions, shoot me an email. My email is chase.ghostpicksats@gmail.com. I will see you back next week. Thank you for tuning in. Love you guys. See ya.